Hello, this is the TradeSite U.S. Stocks and Futures Market Preview and Domestic Economic Data Roadmap for the week beginning Monday, October 31st, Halloween 2016, ending Friday the 4th. Hope you had a good trading week. Not much happened again. Here's the the ES front month futures contract. This is the S&P 500 in futures form in daily chart format, the proper way to look at the broad market. Wow, very unexciting. Still stuck in a very narrow range. Lost a little bit of ground this week each day, but overall, nothing new to say here, so we'll just get to what we usually get to. Crude oil drops $1.10 on Friday, closing at 48.62. That's about the lowest close in a month. Gold's up $7.10. S&P 500 ended up losing 6 points for the day. I'll show you the intraday action in a moment. NASDAQ 100 lost 30 points. Amazon obviously leading the way there after the earnings miss. Stocks down 4. That's a blip for the stock. Still very near highs. Biotech's down 51. This one's been leaking for a while now. It does not look good. VIX gains 83 cents to 16.19. It was higher. VIX coming up. Market going down. That's how that works. Trend closed at 1.01, giving us a 10-day moving average of 0.94. Let's count the dots backwards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No big numbers dropping off, so I don't think that moving average is going to dip down to 0.85, which would be the sell signal on the market. NASDAQ volume Friday and Thursday was about 1.7 billion after being really light at 1.5 and change Wednesday, and even worse still, down by 1.4 on Monday and Tuesday again. So we've continued to suffer from light volume, although as we expected, as we got through the earnings season, got past the core 8 days of earnings on Thursday, volume picked up. Advanced decline ratio, negative 572 on the NASDAQ. That means 572 more stocks down than up. Advanced decline ratio on the New York, negative 583. Google manages to squeak out a gain of $2.20 after being higher and actually sweeping new highs on the stock earlier in the day, while Apple's down 78 cents. Amazon loses $42. Funny how that just looks like a blip, though, doesn't it? Netflix up 10 cents. That doesn't mean much. Tesla down 4. I should also point out Amgen took a hit. Another stock we like to follow took a big hit. Note that 13 sell signal on that thing a while back. That ends up being a little bit of a prediction, huh? Okay, let's look at the 10-minute chart of the futures so you can see the week. So Monday we gap up, drift lower, but the whole afternoon dead flat. Remember, no volume on Monday at all. Tuesday we opened flat, made our way lower, basically filled the gap from Monday, almost, not quite. And Wednesday we gap down, so that fills the gap from Friday going into Monday. Surge up just enough after the first hour. The first hour was dead on light volume. Jumped up to fill the gap exactly. So remember, when you're in a declining market, you like to fill the gaps down. When you're in a rising market, you like to fill the gaps up. We're in a declining market. We're filling the gaps. So Thursday, gap up. A reciprocal range move to the downside. Closed near the lows in the afternoon. Friday, we were kind of all over the board. Obviously, Amazon down 42 hurt, but still the market's open fairly flat. We kind of pushed back up after the first hour. We were just kind of sitting in what's overall a narrow range. I mean, up to that point, the whole S&P is in basically a 30, 25 pip point range for the week. That's pretty late. And then over lunch, the word hit that potentially there was something going on. FBI reopening some part of the Clinton email investigation. And of course, that hurts the market because what's good for Trump is bad for the market. And so we don't know yet what is to come of that, but we will see. Let's look at the NASDAQ side as it's about the same. A little more negative because of the Amazon news and whatnot. All right, let's take a look at the economic data because we do have a busy week. This is ahead of the election. First of all, Monday's Halloween, so that might be a little light. People do tend to take that off, and especially in the evening, it's going to be slow. So there's that. So Halloween, Monday, we've got personal income and spending along with core PCE price index. 15 minutes into the market on Monday is the Chicago PMI. Tuesday, we got ISM index, construction spending, auto and truck sales is in the afternoon. Wednesday, we've got the MBA mortgage index, the ADP employment change, crude oil inventories an hour in, that's the weekly number, and a Fed rate announcement. So we have a 2-day Fed meeting 1 week before the election. They're not going to do anything because they don't usually get involved. It's pretty much policy that the Fed does not get involved in making rate decisions ahead of elections. So I would be shocked if anything happens here. There's really no reason for it. Thursday, Challenger job cuts at 7:30 a.m., the weekly initial and continuing jobless claims, unit labor costs. 30 minutes into the market, factory orders and ISM services. An hour in, natty gas, that's the weekly number. Friday, again, so Wednesday we've got that Fed announcement, and then Friday, the non-farm payrolls with the unemployment rate, that's a big one, and trade balance, all an hour before the bell. So a lot of data to come out this week. And, when you look at Chicago PMI, when you look at Fed rate announcement, when you look at unemployment with non-farm payrolls, when you look at trade balance, that's some key data. And as we settle into the next week, which will be obviously the election on Tuesday here in the U.S., let the national nightmare come to an end. I personally am just tired of even hearing about it. Charts as usual, brought to you by eSignal. If you've not yet taken the trial of our services, feel free to do so. We will help you out for a couple weeks, and hopefully this week, middle of the week, again, Monday, Halloween, Tuesday could start out okay, but then you kind of slip into Fed mode. Wednesday, you're waiting for the Fed all day, and we'll see if we get a three-wave move in the afternoon. Thursday could be the better trading day of the week, but then you've got non-farm payrolls and unemployment on Friday, heading into a weekend. Not sure what to expect. Volume's been the problem. Let's see if it holds up like it did Thursday, Friday, instead of going back to what we were seeing before that. Everybody have a great trading week.